Dear Con Man Games, I know that Kindergarten 2 just came out, but I'm still playing it and I may, have an idea for a topic for that in the future, but now is not the time because I need to go all the way back to Monday and talk about Kindergarten 1 because as I was replaying it with anticipation for the release of the sequel, I happened upon the scene where Nugget hands you a chicken nugget to eat.
Remember the taste of the friendship nugget.
Okay, just calm down there, buddy. Anyway, it turns out that this chicken nugget, should you eat it, is poisoned, which Nugget uses as leverage during lunchtime to get you to give another poisoned nugget to the school bully Bugs in exchange for the antidote, which you either do or you call Nugget's bluff and find out that nope, he was not bluffing. And if you don't get Bugs to eat that nugget, you will die. The poison is real. So, casual 5-year-old murder, really nothing new here on the Game Theorists.
Don Bugs está muerto. Nugget ya no tiene un mejunje asquerosa choreando en su espalda.
In any case, this scene is weird. It's weird. It's weird. I mean, okay, it's definitely just weird in a fridge logic way, but what kindergartner has access to poison and an antidote? Seriously? Nugget is 5, maybe 6, and yeah, he's a bit strange, and obviously this game takes place in some bizarre Quentin Tarantino alternate dimension where the primary currency is ultraviolence, and yeah, a kindergartner having access to poisons is probably the last thing I should be worrying about in a game that has Cthulhu aliens and Yu-Gi-Oh cards that can summon the apocalypse, but I cannot help myself. I am broken inside. So, I started researching poisons because I really wanted to seal the deal with the NSA. And you know what? After researching this for a tiring 30-ish hours and doing dosage math, I have learned a lot of terrifying realities about our world that make me want to never go outside again. So, could Nugget, a kindergartner, have access to a poison strong enough to kill Bugs? And if so, what poison could it possibly be? And would he be able to get his hands on an antidote? Let's find out together because the answer to this simple question is surprisingly complicated, deliciously mortifying, and chemically fascinating. The first thing I did to begin to get to the bottom of this nugget problem was not to research poisons, but to order myself some chicken nuggets. Not because I wanted to eat them. I'm more of a double quarter pounder with cheese guy. No, I wanted to get a handle on the scale first. This is going to be helpful for us to keep in mind the context of the various doses with the various poisons we're going to be talking about today. Also, and I do hope this goes without saying, please do not poison people. Anyway, I weighed my nugs to get a sense for the average weight of chicken nuggets, and it appears to be 13.25 grams, which we're going to use as a unit. One nugget equals 13.25 grams. I did a lot of research into toxins, and there are some things I could rule out right off the bat, like animal venoms. You see, the general distinction between a venom and a poison is that a venom is injected into your body directly to cause harm, meanwhile poisons are harmful if you swallow them. Some venoms can be poisons, but almost all of them are, you'll never find a doctor who's going to advocate that you swallow snake venom, but generally speaking, they simply aren't as harmful and they may actually be harmless if swallowed, so not a great poison. So after that, I just started ruling things out. Tetrodotoxin is a no because it has no antidote and it's only found in pufferfish. Hemlocks are incredibly toxic, rest in peace Socrates, and can be found literally everywhere, but actually kill you too fast and have no known antidote. In fact, a ton of poisons got ruled out because they have no known antidote. Poisons with antidotes are super rare. The whole, hey, I poisoned you, but I have an antidote that will magically cure you thing is pretty much a complete fabrication by Hollywood. You know what TV show actually gets it right? Breaking Bad. Puking, popping a pill, and then still needing extensive medical treatment is basically what most poisonings look like. This is actually what ruled out my favorite pick, botulinum toxin, because it's actually super abundant. It's the primary toxin used in Botox, and it's the most potent toxin on Earth. As little as 23 nanograms, or 3 2 2/1000th of a nugget of this toxin is enough to basically instantly kill you. The toxin is produced by bacteria that's literally everywhere. The spores need to be in an anaerobic or oxygen-free environment to release the toxin though, which makes poisonings pretty rare as a rule, but it's the leading cause of botulism, a really common form of food poisoning. The thing is, it has no known antidote. So, scratch out Nugget rotting a giant pile of nuggets in his cave to cultivate super toxins, and then I suddenly thought to myself, cyanide. That stuff that is famously all over in our food, specifically in apple seeds, although in very small amounts, and a kindergartner would totally have access to those. And it turns out, well, no, kinda, sorta. We'll get there. I need to take a breath for a second by looking at a picture of puppies before we move on to talking about poison some more. Aww, he's so cute! Alright, let's do that thing where we cut to black in time with the music before we talk about lunchtime. We need to talk about lunch, and not just because I'm hungry. Something we haven't done yet is establish how quickly Nugget's poison works, because some toxins can work within seconds while others take hours or even days, so we have to establish a time frame for how quickly it's working. Let's review our chain of events. During morning time, Nugget will feed you a poison friendship nugget. During lunch, he uses this fact as leverage to make you feed a poison nugget to bugs. Nugget claims that the chicken nugget he poisoned you with had a smaller dose in it than Bugs' nugget, but it's still fatal. He estimates that you have until the bell that signifies the end of lunch rings until you keel over, and he's not wrong. If you give Bugs the poison nugget, he dies by the end of the lunch period. In the United States, kindergarten lunch periods are about 30 minutes. Technically, Bugs can die in the space of one consumed apple, which, since there's like 5 apples per period, is about 6 minutes. Meanwhile, you die in the space of 6 apples, which is about 40-ish minutes. Bugs can also take about 30 minutes to die, so there's some wiggle room, and since poisons are imprecise and vary in effect from person to person, this actually makes a lot of sense. And thankfully, a 30-ish minute fatality time is consistent with the toxin we're about to discuss, cyanide, which brings us back to apple seeds. And it turns out this whole cyanide and apple seeds thing is sorta kinda true. Apple seeds don't have cyanide in them per se. What they do have is a chemical compound called amygdalin, which is what's known as a cyanogenic glycoside. And it makes more sense if I just show you. This right here is amygdalin, which by itself is actually pretty harmless. But you see this bit on the end right here? Right there? This is cyanide. And when amygdalin reaches your intestines, the process of metabolizing it breaks off this part and it starts to distribute itself throughout your system. And this has poisoned people. While apple seeds have very, very, very small amounts of amygdalin in them, apricot kernels have a much higher percentage by volume. And some people have bought them to eat for their super debunked and fake medicinal property of curing cancer. Overzealous people ate too many of them and got cyanide poisoning. The good thing for us, though, is that cyanide does have a pretty effective antidote that's relatively attainable if you know where to look. It's a combination of amyl nitrite, sodium nitrite, and sodium thiosulfate, all of which are kinda easily findable, and you can reverse the symptoms, so basically anyone on North Halstead might be able to help you out. Now, it's hard to get specifics, and apricot seeds have a wide diversity of concentrations of amygdalin in them. The average seed weighs 0.5 grams and has approximately 19 milligrams of amygdalin, with a fatal dose of about 500 milligrams per kilogram of body weight and an average weight of a 5-year-old boy of 18.4 kilograms. It means we need about 9,200 milligrams of amygdalin to kill bugs. That is about 0.69 nuggets worth, over half a nugget. But remember, that is just the amygdalin dose. Extracting amygdalin from crushed apricot seeds is a really, really complicated chemical process involving organic solvents that are probably above the skills of the average high schooler, let alone kindergartner. Meaning, he'd have to rely exclusively on ground up apricot seeds. How many would he need? 234 grams worth, which at half a gram per seed is over 469 seeds. What does that mean for our poisoning? Well, in order to shove a fatal dose inside of bugs, if Nugget deep fried nuggets made purely out of the seeds, it'd still take over 35 nuggets worth of apricot seeds to poison bugs. 35 times what we feed him in-game. There is no way this is the poison that Nugget used. And with that, I thought I was done. I felt defeated. No kindergartner would be able to get their hands on a controlled substance very easily, let alone reverse its effects. Ugh. And then, by chance, literally by accident, I realized that the answer was staring me in the face the whole time. What's the most important item to pick up in kindergarten besides the hall pass and the voice recorder? The item that saves you repeatedly from the hall monitor, the pack of cigarettes. And it may not seem like a big clue to you, but that's why I'm here, the world's crappiest detective. I'm here to tell you that this pack of cigarettes in the game is the key to everything. What's even more brilliant about this pack of cigarettes is that it didn't just give me the clue to look into the correct poison, but once I started doing all the dosing mechanics, well, I will save that part for later. Let's get to the meat. Nicotine. Did you know that nicotine is one of the most toxic substances on Earth? It's no botulinum, of course, but it is very, very deadly. People that work with pure nicotine have to be very careful. If just a little bit gets on your skin, it can send you to the hospital. I mean, in nature, it's used as an insecticide. When bugs eat plants that contain nicotine, it sends their entire body into a meltdown, and they can die within seconds. The average cigarette has 12 milligrams of nicotine in it. And a really entrepreneurial, murderous child, while they'd have difficulty actually getting a pack or even a full cigarette, could just walk around until they found a really full ashtray and take the cigarette butts home. You know, I'm just gonna say this. Nicotine is water soluble and has a higher boiling temperature than water. Nicotine fatal doses are hard to get exact numbers on for humans, so to guarantee a bug's death, we're really gonna have to go with overkill. Let's say 10 milligrams per kilogram, which is about 10 times more than is sometimes cited as a fatal dose. But that citation is actually pretty bad and there's not really a lot of evidence behind it. But if we assume that a cigarette butt has on average only 5% of its original nicotine extractable by, let's just say methods that are barely more complicated than boiling water, that means Nugget would have to go around and find about 300 cigarette butts and put them in a big bag and take them home. That's actually not that difficult, I don't think. I think if you found just like one or two busy ashtrays in town, that would probably be enough. But you know what? After double checking my math, I realized something. Nugget did not use cigarette butts. He used a fresh pack of cigarettes. You know how I know this? Because it turns out that about 15 cigarettes contains enough nicotine, if thoroughly extracted, to poison both the main character and bugs. And if you look at the pack of cigarette that you buy in-game, it only has 4 cigarettes left in it. And there's no way Monty bought that pack himself. He found it somewhere discarded. Discarded with the exact number of cigarettes that it would take to kill 2 people missing. And how much nicotine is that? If properly isolated, which takes barely more skill than it takes to make a box of macaroni and cheese on the stovetop, 15 cigarettes would have a yield of 0.184 milliliters of nicotine, or 184 milligrams. And how much is that? 4 drops. 4 drops on a chicken nugget. And it works really fast. Nicotine can absorb through your gums, your skin, your esophagus, and your stomach. After eating it, bugs would experience severe abdominal pain, which explains the vomiting, sweating, high blood pressure, dizziness, increased heart rate, seizures, eventually full cardiac arrest. This is almost exactly what we see happen to him on screen. And does nicotine poisoning have an antidote? Well, kinda. It has a combination of treatments. One, which is a really common first action, is activated charcoal pills. These pills contain fine carbon powders that have a huge surface area and bind to poisonous substances and absorb them so you don't digest them all. The other treatment, and it is experimental, is an application of benzodiazepine. I'm gonna call it a benzo because I keep mispronouncing it. Anyway, an application of benzos can mitigate the cardiovascular problems. And you know what? Nugget has some of those. Those magic pills given to him by the principal, the ones that calm him down and kind of make him act a little weird and most importantly, totally mess with his memory. These are the major side effects of benzos. They can totally trash your short-term memory. So the antidote he gave you after feeding you a poison he made from extracting nicotine from a pack of cigarettes before discarding the rest of them because he's not a smoker was probably just activated charcoal and his magic demon pills together. It's not perfect. Honestly, your character would still need to go to the hospital. It turns out that while it's really, really easy to poison someone, it is not so easy to unpoison them. And how did a kindergartner get a pack of cigarettes even? That is hard to say for sure. He could have swiped them from the hall monitor, who's always smoking in the bathroom, and who coincidentally seems to be running low on his supply of smokes. Or there's a teacher, Miss Applegate, who also smokes and is high out of her mind on the principal's pills all the time. Who knows? In any case, Nugget is a much more dangerous kid than you can even realize by playing through the game the first time. This guy is freaking Heisenberg, and I cannot wait to see what he does in kindergarten 2. Please don't poison people. Sincerely, Austin.
Nugget needs more friends. Nugget only needs a few more friends to reach 12 million. 12 million nuggets. Subscribe to our channel or Nugget will make you eat his special friendship nugget. Also, Nugget thinks you should watch another video about Nugget away!